Now, Donald Trump has still not accepted the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. There have been coups and coups within coups in Africa. Experts say democracies around the world are now at risk. This is being discussed at a global summit in Cape Town. The Association of World Election Bodies is holding its 5th General Assembly. The former president, that's Thabo Mbeki, who's currently on the podium, is addressing. Let's listen in.
To be celebrated next year, 2023. And indeed for hosting what has been, I'm told, a successful 5th AWEB General Assembly on African soil. And I've no doubt that our Electoral Commission and the new AWEB Executive Committee will deliver on their mandate over the next 2 years. And nevertheless, I'm indeed very pleased to take this opportunity to wish them success in their important work. As we grow up, Director of Ceremonies, as you know, involved in the challenging struggle to defeat the apartheid regime and thus to secure national emancipation of the black oppressed majority and democratize our country. The vision and objective was always writ large on our minds. And that objective was that the people shall govern. And for us, this is what democracy meant, that the people shall govern. Of course, we also engaged in discussion to try to answer the question, in practice, what systems should be put in place to ensure that the people shall govern. And shortly before the formal negotiations to end apartheid rule in our country began in 1990, we had preliminary discussions with people drawn from the then white ruling group. And we spent quite a lot of time discussing what we meant when we said that it was one of our strategic goals of our movement and struggle to ensure that the people shall govern. Our interlocutors kept insisting that in truth we meant that the ANC, our liberation movement, would govern, not the people. And of course we contested that assertion, trying to explain what we meant when we said that the people shall govern. As we're meeting here today, Director of Ceremonies, you know, the South African National Assembly is discussing an amendment to our electoral law. They are sitting not many streets away from here. And once again, our lawmakers, even as they discuss particular details in the law, in fact, are still grappling with the same question. What system should be put in place to give concrete expression to the vision that the people shall govern? I'm not by any means suggesting that you must engage this question, important as it is. But whatever anybody says in this regard, none can question that one of the things that must be done to ensure that the people do govern is that they must be given not only the right, but also the possibility freely to elect their representatives. And this emphasizes the critical importance of the election management bodies, which carry the responsibility to ensure that, as I've just said, indeed the people have the possibility, all the possibilities, freely to elect their representatives. So this international conference on that theme of safeguarding election management bodies in the age of global democratic recession offers an excellent opportunity to the EMBs, together with other key electoral actors, to discuss what should be done to protect and empower those EMBs so that they fully discharge their responsibility. The important matter of the policies and values of the political parties in any democracy falls outside the mandate of the EMBs. However, any upright EMB would be gravely concerned in instances when especially dominant political parties have leaders and form governments which show by their statements and actions that they are not committed to ensuring the integrity of elections. In this context, perhaps our conference could reflect on the matter. In such cases, what should the EMB do? Secondly, what must be done when the EMBs and other public institutions established to protect and advance democracy become the focus of generalized attack intended to discredit them in the public mind for partisan gain? In such instances, for instance, there might be allegations of bias or cohabitation with the ruling party without facts or evidence being provided. And I believe that the conference objectives create the space to respond comprehensively to these challenges. And I refer here to the objectives, which include to provide a platform for dialogue among EMBs, that is this conference, to provide a platform for dialogue among the EMBs and key stakeholders on democracy and elections, highlighting challenges and opportunities. It provides us with an opportunity to discuss critically the external vulnerabilities of the EMBs in the face of deteriorating democratic standards, and to find innovative ways to safeguard these bodies. It gives us the opportunity to explore alternative constructive mechanisms to complement what already exists in various EMB platforms and other entities, the better to deal with the challenges of democratic recession, including disinformation on EMBs and electoral processes to promote such recession. It gives us a possibility to review the interventions by the global, continental, and intergovernmental institutions in addressing the democratic recession, and to propose improvements to ensure resilient democratic electoral systems. It gives us a possibility to propose intervention by important bodies, which normally do not deal directly with elections, such as international development partners, donors, academia, non-governmental organizations, think tanks, which would assist the EMBs as they address the impact of democratic recession. And gives us a possibility to disseminate the conference proceedings and resolutions far and wide through media releases, the internet, various publications, informed by a cogent communication strategy to help ensure the biggest possible impact of the conference views and decisions. And it gives us the possibility to enhance the effectiveness of the operational machinery of the EMBs, particularly in emerging democracies and post-conflict countries, including their election management and administrative structures, their leadership, and their intra- and inter-organizational coordination, and their planning skills. So, Director of Ceremonies, to come closer to the practical, let me reflect briefly on some developments relating to relatively recent processes of democratization. Indeed, there's no gainsaying the fact that the political transitions to democracy in the late 1990s have not necessarily resulted in functioning democracies everywhere. The varying trajectories of that transition from one continent to another, as well as from one country to another, have led to a mixed bag of results. As Professor Larry Diamond, and I'm told that he must be listening, and I hope, Professor, I am not misquoting you here. As he rightly notes in his recent January 22 article in the Journal of Democracy entitled Democracy's Arch from Resurgent to Imperiled, the different actors and strategies they adopted have determined the character of the transitions. In some countries, such strategies have helped to resolve protracted and seemingly intractable conflicts, while in others, violent conflict and civil strife have continued undiminished. External and internal factors have combined to conspire to inspire the democratic efforts in some countries, but have served to propel democratic recession in others. And so we must note with concern that the 2021 Global State of Democracy report recorded an increase of 3 times the number of countries experiencing democratic recession, as against the number of countries moving towards democracy since 2016. And indeed, on the basis of the criteria used in this report, there are troubling signs reflecting the fragility of what has been achieved. And among the group characterized as being of nascent democracy, some are already suffering reversals. And the report to which we have referred shows that until 2020, these reversals tended to be related to the integrity of elections, the role of the media, and freedom of expression. And the major drivers of regression are characterized in the report as including the rise of the number of illiberal and populist parties in government, including the increasing levels of societal and political polarization, combined with low levels of support for democracy. It includes economic crises and poverty, and the mimicking of the large and influential economic and geopolitical players who exhibit, among other things, a lack of respect for constitutionalism, adherence to the rule of law, and effective functioning of political and economic institutions. And it includes the struggle to balance freedom of expression, especially through the social media, with public safety, as well as the scourge of disinformation. Based on the above prognosis by that Global State of Democracy report, it is axiomatic that institutionalizing and nurturing democracy is a daunting challenge. We must acknowledge the reality that both democratic and non-democratic practices can and do coexist, and at times in the same country. And I believe that it is therefore important that as the conference tackles the different topics in the various sessions, we must pay attention both to the drivers of democracy and its strengthening, as well as the anti-democratic aspects which undermine and threaten the gains made, including how these threats manifest in the continental and at the continental and country levels.
All right, those are live visuals from the 5th General Assembly of the Association of World Election Bodies. That's an international conference which is being hosted by our IEC. Now, former President Thabo Mbeki is delivering the opening address. They're emphasizing the need for lawmakers and other institutions to give concrete expression to the vision of the people shall govern.